Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into a real classic this time. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A classic for a reason, for sure.
You guys sent us the whole audiobook, so that's a lot to get through.
It is a big one.
But don't worry, we're going to find the best parts, the really good stuff that can help you out.
Yeah, it's about building that strong foundation, right?
Right. Not just like get-rich-quick schemes. This is for real. And speaking of real, the book starts off with this wild idea. It says that just being rich doesn't fix your money problems.
Oh,
Yeah, it really makes you think,
it
right?
really does. It makes you question the whole, like, if I'm rich, I'm good thing?
For sure. And then, bam, the first big lesson is that rich people, they don't work for money. They make money work for them. That's like the opposite of what we're told, isn't it?
It's a total mind shift. Like, we're so used to trading our time for a paycheck.
Totally. But this is about building assets, things that make money for you, even when you're not, clocking in.
Exactly. It's a system working for you 24/7.
Okay, so the book has this story, right, about the author working for Rich Dad when he was a kid. Like, 10 cents an hour? That's rough.
It really highlights the book's message, though. Rich Dad wasn't being mean. He was teaching him to think differently about money.
So it wasn't about those 10 cents. It was about the bigger picture.
Yeah, understanding that money can work for you, not just the other way around.
So instead of grinding away for a paycheck,
You're building something that creates value.
got it. Okay, so that takes us to lesson 2, financial literacy. Knowing an asset from a liability. But how do we actually use that, in real life?
It's about the flow of money, basically. Where's it going? An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability, it takes money out.
Simple, but
So many people get it mixed up.
like houses and cars. Those are things people think are assets.
And that's the trap. A house with a huge mortgage draining your money, that's a liability. Same with a fancy car, loans, all that.
So it's not just what you own, it's how it affects your money overall.
It all comes down to the numbers. Income, expenses. You got to learn to read your financial statements.
Okay, so then the book says, mind your own business. In terms of money, I mean. What does that even mean?
It's about that asset column we talked about, building it up, not just relying on your job.
So taking charge of your money, basically.
Exactly.
They use McDonald's as an example, right?
Right.
Not the burgers, but the actual land.
Yeah. Ray Kroc, the guy behind McDonald's, he was smart. He saw the value in the real estate itself.
Not just flipping burgers, but owning the place where they're flipped. That's a good image. But how do you build this, income-generating asset thing? Where do you even begin?
There are different types of income, like earned income, that's your usual paycheck.
The 9 to 5.
Right. Then there's portfolio income from stocks and stuff like that.
Okay, getting fancier.
And then the interesting one, passive income, money you earn without actively working, like rental income or royalties.
Making money in your sleep, basically.
Kind of. And the book mentions tax advantages with passive income, too. Yeah, taxes are a whole other thing. Learning how those work can really help you build wealth faster.
We'll have to do a deep dive on that sometime. Okay, so we're building our assets, understanding income. Then Rich Dad, Poor Dad says the rich invent money. How's that even possible?
It's not like magic, but it is a different way of thinking. It's about seeing opportunities that others miss.
Like that story about Alexander Graham Bell offering his telephone idea for, like, $100,000.
And they turned him down. Crazy.
Yeah.
Right. They just didn't see the potential.
It's about having that vision, seeing the value before everyone else.
And then being brave enough to act on it, to take a chance.
They also have a simpler example, buying a house for $60,000, then selling it right away for $75,000.
There you go. Creating wealth through a deal. It's about using knowledge and timing to your advantage.
So opportunities are out there.
But you got to develop that financial intelligence to spot them.
Got it. Okay, lesson 5. Work to learn, not just for money. What's that all about?
It means focusing on skills that will help you in the long run, not just chasing a paycheck.
The author's own career is an example. Marine pilot, Xerox salesman, not the usual path to riches.
But those jobs gave him skills. Leadership, problem solving, all that.
So it wasn't just random jobs. It was like investing in himself.
Hmm.
What kind of skills did Rich Dad say were important?
Managing money, systems, people, also sales and marketing, being able to communicate well.
So becoming a well-rounded person, basically.
Yeah. And always learning, always growing, being a good student and a good teacher.
Makes sense. But, there are always challenges. What does the book say about overcoming those?
Those are often the hardest part. Rich Dad, Poor Dad lists 5 things: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. And since our listeners love to learn, I think we should talk about fear a bit more. It's a big one for anyone trying new things.
Fear can definitely stop you in your tracks. And Rich Dad's advice is, if you're worried about risks, start early.
It makes sense the earlier you start investing and learning, the more time you have to figure things out.
There's that story, right? The guy who missed out on a real estate deal because he listened to his scared neighbor.
That's a good one. It shows how negativity can hold you back. You got to learn to tell the difference between good advice and just plain fear.
So analyze the situation. Don't let fear cloud your judgment.
Right. And sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all.
Wow, that's deep. We've covered a lot. There's so much more to talk about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, like all the stuff about taxes and corporations, that can be a game changer.
Buckle up, everyone. We're just getting started. All right, so we're back in Rich Dad, Poor Dad territory, and this time we're tackling corporations. Kind of scary, right?
It can seem that way.
Yeah, like, is this really for regular people or just, super rich folks?
That's a myth. Corporations can help anyone build wealth. It's about using the same tools the rich use.
Okay, but why are corporations so important? What's the secret sauce?
Taxes. Remember how we talked about different incomes? Earned, portfolio, passive?
Yeah, passive income usually gets taxed less.
Exactly. Corporations help you use those tax advantages even better.
So it's like a legal way to pay less in taxes.
That's the idea. And that frees up more money to grow your wealth faster.
Okay, that sounds good, but complicated. How does this actually work?
Basically, a corporation is like its own thing, legally speaking. It can own stuff, earn money, have expenses, just like a person.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
So instead of you earning money directly and getting taxed on all of it, the corporation does.
And because it's taxed differently, you keep more of the profits.
Exactly. It's all legal, by the way.
I get a little nervous with all the legal stuff, gotta be honest.
I hear you. That's why it's important to have good advisors, lawyers, accountants, people who know this stuff.
Like a Rich Dad team of experts.
Yeah. Invest in good advice. It's worth it.
So we've got corporations, taxes, advisors.
Hmm.
It's starting to make sense. But what about actually investing? Rich Dad, Poor Dad likes real estate, but being a landlord seems like a lot of work.
It can be. But remember, the goal is to have money work for you, not the other way around.
So how do you do real estate without the hassle?
Build a team. Hire a property manager to handle the day-to-day stuff. Finding tenants, collecting rent, all that.
So you're like the CEO of your real estate empire, basically.
You got it. Plus, real estate has great tax advantages, especially if you own it through a corporation.
You're making money, paying less in taxes, all while someone else manages the property. Sounds good to me. But real estate's not the only option, is it?
Nope. Stocks, bonds, your own business, there are tons of ways to invest. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is all about exploring what works best for you.
So we're learning, investing, building our assets. But the book also talks about those things that hold us back, right? Like mentally.
It's true. We can be our own worst enemies sometimes. The book talks about cynicism, that voice saying you can't do it.
Ugh, I know that voice. How do you shut it up?
Rich Dad had a great line. Cynics criticize, winners analyze. So, instead of doubting, think critically.
Do your research. Weigh the risks. Make decisions based on facts, not feelings.
Exactly. Don't let fear make your choices for you.
And then there's laziness, just not wanting to put in the effort.
It's tempting to stay comfortable, but building wealth takes work. Just remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Start small, build those good habits, and find support. It's easier with others on the same journey.
Definitely. Success loves company. Having mentors and people who can guide you makes a big difference.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks about bad habits too, like spending too much or relying on credit cards.
It's all about self-discipline. The rich pay themselves first.
Meaning they save and invest before spending on other stuff.
Exactly. They put their future first.
But isn't that kind of selfish?
It's actually the opposite. By taking care of yourself financially, you're better able to help others.
So it's a long-term kind of generosity.
That's a great way to put it. And lastly, the book warns against arrogance, thinking you know it all.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
Totally. The financial world is always changing. You got to stay humble and keep learning.
So confident but not cocky. Always open to new ideas.
That's the spirit. And that leads us to the last part of our deep dive. We'll be looking at Rich Dad's 10 steps to financial freedom.
Can't wait. We've learned a lot. Now it's time to put it all into action. All right, we're back for the last part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. From assets and all that to corporations and even, facing our fears. But now, let's get to the good stuff. Rich Dad's 10 steps to actually reaching financial freedom.
This is where it gets real, like turning all this knowledge into something you can actually use.
Exactly. I'm ready to take notes. What's step number 1?
It all starts with your why. Why do you want financial freedom? What's driving you?
Yeah, like what are your goals? What are you working towards? If you don't know why you're doing it.
It's easy to lose motivation, get sidetracked.
Totally. So find your why, and then step 2 is to actually decide to be rich, not just wish for it.
Make a choice. Commit to it.
Own your future, basically. Okay, step 3 is about knowing where your money's going. Do you even track your spending?
This is where that financial literacy comes in. Got to track income, expenses, the whole 9 yards.
Know where it's coming from, where it's going.
Then you can make smarter choices about spending and saving.
Okay, step 4, we've heard this before, mind your own business. Build those assets.
That's right. Focus on creating income that flows to you even when you're not working. And don't think you need to start some huge company right away. Start small.
The book says you don't need a ton of money to begin investing.
Exactly. Start small, learn as you go, get comfortable with it. Then you can scale up.
All right, step 5. This one's tricky. Find a mentor. Someone who's already done what you want to do. But where do you even find these people?
It takes some effort, but it's out there. Network, go to events, join online groups. Don't be afraid to ask for advice.
Put yourself out there, basically. You never know who you'll meet.
Step 6 is a tough one. Make disappointment your strength. Failure is part of the process.
No one likes to fail, but it happens.
The important thing is to learn from it. Don't give up. Rich Dad, Poor Dad says setbacks are just opportunities to learn and grow.
All right, step 7 is all about belief. Believing in yourself. I think a lot of people, they hold themselves back because they don't think they can do it.
Our minds are powerful. If you don't believe you can be wealthy, you probably won't.
That's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly. The book talks about changing those negative thoughts. Tell yourself you can achieve anything. It might sound corny, but it works.
So instead of I can't, it's I can and I will.
Huh.
Step 8 is about facing those specific fears head on. We talked about failure, but there are others too.
Like the fear of not being good enough or smart enough or worthy of success. You have to acknowledge those fears and work through them.
Don't let fear control your decisions.
And sometimes that means getting out of your comfort zone, taking risks. But calculated risks, of course.
Step 9 is a good one. Be generous. Give back. It seems odd when we're talking about money, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad is big on giving.
It's about creating a cycle of abundance. The more you give, the more you receive. And not just money, but good things in general.
Yeah, true wealth isn't just about the money. It's about making a difference.
And finally, step 10, the most important one, take action. It's not enough to just know this stuff. You got to do something with it.
Put it all into practice. Start small, be consistent, and keep learning.
That's what it's all about. Rich Dad, Poor Dad gives you the knowledge, but it's up to you to use it and create your own success.
It's a good reminder that we all have the power to change our financial lives. It starts with making a choice, learning, growing, and then taking action.
This has been an awesome deep dive. I hope everyone listening is feeling motivated and ready to take control of their money.
Me too. And hey, remember, even the longest journey starts with one small step. So what's one thing you can do today to get started on your path to financial freedom? Think about it. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.